All right. What's going on, guys? We're back with another episode. And today's topic is going to be about why most of us, the way we're living our lives, especially if we're high achievers and we really want to make the most out of life, why we have such a difficult time to actually find happiness, and why most of us are ultimately doomed not to find happiness, really. What's the reason behind that, and what can we do to ensure that ultimately we end up in a place where we are happy, and not just once, not just occasionally, but actually permanently for the rest of our lives, right?
Quick word before we get into the podcast. Don't forget that we have a free Facebook group, and there we have lives every Saturday. And it's great because you can ask questions right away and we are able to answer you in the spot. Other than that, don't forget to like this video, comment below if you have any questions or just to share your own experience. And don't forget to subscribe. Now, let's go to the content.
Can I start by proposing? Proposing by proposing that you give a definition for us of what do you think is this high achiever that you just mentioned, so we can base on that the further discussion.
Okay. So the way I view someone who is high achieving now is someone who really tries to plan their life in a way where they have certain milestones that they're trying to hit. So they have these goals, sometimes in 10 years, 20 years, maybe even 50 years from now, kind of like having their whole life planned out, and then trying to do whatever it takes to hit those goals. So say they're like 22 and they're like, by 30, I want to be a millionaire. By 30, I want to have met the woman of my life, right? That kind of thing. And then they do whatever it takes to accomplish that. And so a lot of planning goes into that, right? But you were going to say something, yeah.
No, I was just trying to visualize that, because it seems like someone that is already really, I forgot the specific word for this, but like someone that is have everything so well planned for now that there's not much space for surprise, let's say. So that is indeed one of the qualities, let's say, of this high achiever, someone that is not so open to different things or experience or even mindset.
And I mean, it's kind of part of like it goes hand in hand, right? With if you have these goals and you want to achieve big things and you know this is going to take you years. Like, for example, for me now, when I was like, I'm going to build a business, and now when I'm with my family and I talk to them about this stuff, like they can't relate to what I'm going through, right? And part of that was just I'm juggling all these different things, and I have to kind of like put the blinders on sometimes and say like, today I'm focusing only on this stuff to make this happen. But if you do this in all these different areas of your life, and what you need to do is put the blinders on and you can't look left and right, then you're confined to this one kind of path. And it's very difficult, I would say, for a lot of them to then see like, is this really the right path for me? Like there's no new information that can really come in and deviate them onto a different path, right?
Yeah, like from what you were saying, if we would get, or we will start coaching someone, let's say, that does have that really strongly, the first thing that I would ask or try to find out is where this thing is coming from for the first place. Try to understand why you already have this really strong grasp or idea of the things that you want to achieve. Why is that? Because I think that a lot of people that do come to us or do come to improve their dating lives, let's say, they come not as the first thing that they wanted to solve. Let's say they thought that they needed to solve other things in order to achieve the dating life that they wanted. Those are mainly things that are related to financial situation. And they do get that because they are like this in this driven mind. They got there and they didn't acquire the things that they thought that they were going to get from the money, meaning the relationships. Then they come to learn the relationship part, But it doesn't stop there, because they also don't get what they wanted from relationship itself.
Well, that's very true. And I would say a lot of times, I mean, if you really dig deep down, you ask them, like, why are you doing this? I think oftentimes it's just about the girls, because they think, okay, having this, like, ultimately it's, I would say, about love, like receiving the love that they didn't receive as children, but finding that in women, right? And that's why they pursue these careers. That's why they do all these things, live these interesting lives to make themselves more interesting of a person. Especially if you feel deep down you're not worth it until you have all of this stuff, then it makes sense for you to go and pursue all these things and kind of set up your life in a way where you're constantly in pursuit of the next big thing, right? But ultimately, yeah, the question is all of this necessary? Do you need to go through 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years of trying to achieve, trying to pursue things just to realize that, hey, wait a minute, none of these things was actually the real deal? And that's really the topic, like, for today. What can you do? Well, where do you find that happiness? Where do you find that joy, the love, and the peace, right? That we're hoping, like, in this illusory future that we have, like we paint this picture, like, yes, when I reach this point, then it's going to be there. But is it ever that way? Like, if we look back at our experience, whenever we set a goal and then we went to accomplish that goal, and maybe in most cases we did accomplish it, but if we ask ourselves, did that bring the peace or the lack of anxiety or the love or the joy that we're looking for? Did it really? Because in most cases, the answer would be no, right?
Yeah. One thing that I would add to this discussion also is that we do see that people find this topic relevant, in terms of, you're going to see some communities or some specific channels saying that you should focus on yourself, do the things for you, so on and so forth. Like, shifting a little bit this idea that you will need to, you will get this happiness from, let's say, relationship or for a woman or whatever. You should then focus on yourself, and then you yourself need to provide you that by working harder, by earning money, whatever it is. And while I think, okay, yeah, it's great that we were talking about you improving yourself and not depending on others to give you that, at the same time, it's still dealing in the same level of the same, let's say, the problem is not dealing with the problem, but dealing with how you are attacking the problem. One is by thinking that you need this from external things, external sources. The other one is more like internal part. And yeah, in this sense, I would say the first thing that you really need to do is to go to one step back, which is, you don't even need to achieve anything in the future to start feeling all these things that you want to feel in the future. Because right now is the moment that you can truly connect and attune and live this life. Because there's no other life, right? I think you can explore that a little bit more, but expecting something in the future is not a place. There is no further place in time for you to get to.
And I think that's sort of like the first step, actually, for most guys to, like, where we need to start to dismantle this whole concept of time. I think that's where it really starts, because as long as we think there is this future, this oasis, right? This place that we can just embellish and make it all beautiful and perfect, right? As long as we think that's actually attainable, like, we'll always strive to stay there in the mind, right? And then what I told you before, it's like there's just the past, and then there's all the stuff that we didn't like about the past, and there's the future, and then we constantly leapfrog over the present moment, and we're living in the future, right? And try to create things that avoid past uncomfortable experiences and get us more of what already feels good to us. And then ultimately what we're missing is the present moment. So we're never actually experiencing what it's like to be here now. And that like really dismantling and really seeing time is not a real thing. It's an illusory concept that's created by the mind, right? Because there's never, like you said, you'll never reach a place where you're like, oh, now I'm in the future. No, when that time comes, then you're also going to be in the present moment. So you're going to be where again? Right here. So instead of always living 5 steps ahead, why not come back to the present moment and realize, oh, wait a minute, when I'm here, when I'm fully inhabiting my body, when I'm really in this moment, when I'm feeling myself, right? Not going anywhere into in the mind space, but staying right here, then I have access to the love. I have access to the happiness. I have access to the peace. I have access to the joy. Gratitude is just coming up for no reason, right? All of these things, they're not reliant on anything else. It's not dependent on anything external. It's something that you uncover, what can tap into when you come back into the present moment. And so instead of pursuing, it's about like, how can we take away the things that are constantly pulling us out of being right here now?
Mm-hmm. To play the devil's advocate on this one, because yeah, probably a high achiever would be watching this and get intrigued or triggered by us saying that he can't achieve this, let's say, happiness or whatever it is by being that way. And he's going to be, okay, but what is the problem of being the high achiever? If it feels to me that I'm moving towards what is important to me, why is that a problem in itself?
Well, there's no real problem. It's just ultimately, what do you want to experience? So if your actual goal, right? So it's important then to know, why are you doing what you're doing? And most of us, we've never thought about that either. It's generally just a reaction to something, again, that's happened in the past. Maybe our parents were like, yo, if you're really successful, that's really great. Then you get all the love and blah, blah, blah. So then you try to become successful. So you never question that. So if that's your goal, like if your goal is actually to be successful, that's a different story. Then go do what you're doing. Like, that's fine. Now, for most of us, if we then ask them, though, what do you really want? And I would say most people answer with, I want to be happy, right? In life. That's the ultimate goal. So then the question is that going to get you to happiness? That kind of path.
I would even say that this guy, if his goal is really to be successful, let's say, most of them will do, like you said, in a way that they are not fully aware of why they are doing this. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of people will get there and still not feel satisfied. So there's something extra, an extra step that needs to be taken, for me to fully feel this okayness that we are talking about. But this okayness for this type of person that is always mentally reaching for something beyond the now, let's call it like that, in the future, it's not going to come from trying to get to the future, because he's always pursuing. So whenever he gets to this point, there's the new point, there's this new step. And that's when coming to the point of feeling okayness in the now, I think it's also really, really helpful for this person that wants to achieve, because now he has a clear mind that he wants to achieve that, but he doesn't need to achieve that to feel good, to feel happy, to feel loved. And that's, especially for dating, I think that's when it's a big, big change for a lot of people, because they stop needing to pursue that specific, let's say, woman. And that in itself make them more able to truly attract that partner that they are looking for. Because they are coming from a place not of needy, but in a place of openness, from a different place. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. I think the question then, and I'll ask you that, and then we can both answer it, is like, well, how do you actually get to the first realization that, hey, wait a minute, I don't even need that? Like, how do I get to the place of seeing that all these pursuits are not holding the fulfillment and the peace that I'm actually seeking deep down? So what's the thing where you can kind of get your foot in the door that like opens you up to the possibility of, wait a minute, maybe there is a different way. Maybe there's a different approach that I can take.
I would say important part is to develop self-awareness, a strong sense of self-awareness. I think that is important for you to start realizing things in yourself, in your body, or things in the moment that does make sense, or so you're not so caught up in your head, let's say. So already developing that will allow you to analyze you more in terms of, okay, yeah, these are the patterns that I'm repeating, and I can see that I'm not even sure why I'm waking up 5 a.m., taking this cold shower and hustling 24 hours per day, let's say. So this would be the first path, I would say, some self-awareness. I'd say that most people also benefit from meditation, especially the high achiever, because they are not used to not think too much. So they are constantly thinking and processing stuff and planning. So by meditating, they are allowing their brain to take a rest, let's say. And I think that's an important part into that. It's also interesting to do some kind of, let's say, shadow work, or some kind of understanding your path, your behaviors, and things that kind of had an impact on you as you grow old. So you also see why you have some of the behaviors that you do have. And then it's basically a combination of this practice, let's say, that doesn't guarantee anything, and also starting to realize that you don't need to be wait, let me go back. To be in terms of a human being, so being, and also a place where you need to get in order to feel okay. So realize that everything that you need is happening right now, and you are getting everything that you are supposed to get at this moment. But this is, when we explain like that, it's mentally grasped, let's say. And that's not the way to truly access that. And that's why I think some exercises are important, because it helps you to get to this realization without using your mind, let's say. Yeah, well, and then I open to you specifically, what do you think is the best way or necessary way to?
Yeah, same as you, I would say the first step is the awareness. Like so if we look at the way we tend to live our lives then, and I said this before, if we, let's say during childhood, we realize that being powerful, being successful, and being smart, right? If those are the qualities that give you the love from your parents, and then you really start to idolize that, and you put that on a pedestal, and then you just run off and try to get that, become the clever guy, the smart guy, the successful guy, whatever. And that's kind of like the whole MO that you're having, which is purely a reaction to the conditioning that you've received. Then it's going to be very difficult to catch yourself. Like if you're just continually following that, if you don't have the awareness that there's another option potentially, then you're purely reacting constantly. So the first step, and that's what the awareness does, it's creating a choice for us, right? To see in the moment, like you observe yourself and you start to see, well, look what I'm doing again. And then in seeing what you're doing, you actually have the choice now to not engage in that, for example, right? You may feel what's coming up, but then you're not reacting to the situation again. So the awareness actually gives you a choice. So that is definitely the first step that we need. Otherwise, we're not even seeing what we're doing, right? And what was the second thing that you said?
So awareness, shadow work-ish.
You said something
I think
else.
that was the third.
Yeah, there was something in
Yes.
between.
Funny that I forgot.
Well,
That's how we
here's
flow on
what
the
I would
podcast.
here's
Things just come, we spit out, and we forget.
here's what I would say then as a second step that's really important is the emotional integration. So if we aren't able to, because the reactiveness, right, what it does, generally why we don't even look into it further is because there's discomfort around those emotions, certain emotions that are coming up. So we don't tend to look at that. And then with the awareness, what's going to happen is we're going to start to notice more and more stuff, apparently, like almost like we're seeing shit everywhere. We're like, oh my God, how did I not see this? And it's not that there's more shit all of a sudden, right? Life might become more tumultuous at first and chaotic, but it's just that you are seeing more now. And then the next tool that we need is really how do we integrate that? Like when this stuff is coming up, instead of then reacting again to that, how can we incorporate that and embrace it and integrate it in ourselves so that the charge disappears and there's no more reactivity. So gradually what we're doing is we're reducing the reactivity, because that's the thing ultimately that pulls us out of the moment. Right? Like it's this thought, like, and oftentimes it's accompanied by thinking. It's the mind that is very active. And it's like pulling us out of the moment. Boom, triggered here, reacting, boom, 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 right? And then we're no longer in this moment. We don't feel our body. We don't feel our feet on the floor. So even just as simple as that, and I think I mentioned this before as an exercise, just like feeling your heartbeat. Like, can you feel your heartbeat? Like, how attuned are you to what your body is actually doing right now? Or following the breath, your heartbeat, your breath, it's always happening in the present moment. It always stays there, right? So aligning with that. So those two things I would say are the biggest ones, but it starts with the awareness. And for me, even as a tool, I found I was doing meditation too, but the problem was at the time I was still trying to avoid my emotions. I was still trying to avoid the emotional charge. So shame would come up, or fear, or anxiety, and I would boom, push it away again directly. So I wouldn't actually experience it. So instead, if you have that tool of like actually integrating it, and the premise is really when the emotion comes up, to not do anything about it, to just stay fully with it. And to stay fully with it, we also again need the awareness. Otherwise, we quickly get pulled away again, and then we go unconscious and we're no longer in the moment, and then we react again. So it's really about how can we become as responsive, as responsible as possible. That's really what it means to take responsibility, right? To not react to life. And then gradually what's happening is we start to embrace more and more and more, because we no longer need to avoid certain things and we can embrace all of it. Right? And then slowly, and this is kind of where it creeps in and what creeps up on you really, the perfection, like slowly you start to see that everything exactly the way it is unfolding is already perfect. You start to feel the peace coming up out of nowhere for no reason. You're not doing anything special. And you may not even feel your best, right? You may not feel like super like, well, everything is great. Like that's not what we're talking about when we say happiness. Happiness, like in the sense that I'm using it, is really the joy to just be alive. Everything included. There's nothing that you need to avoid, nothing that you attach to anymore. Everything is equally perfect. And then life becomes very enjoyable. The peace, love, everything already there.
Mm-hmm. By that, you are incorporating, for example, moments of sadness. There are also moments that you can truly feel the sense of okayness of being sad, right?
Everything at some point becomes a catalyst for deeper and deeper acceptance of everything that is. Right? You start to notice, oh, I'm being sad, and the awareness allows you to then be like, oh, let me really feel that. And just really be with that as much as you can. And I would say that's ultimately, if you want to talk about what's the purpose in life, is to experience each moment as fully as possible. And I think a lot of high achievers, they have, like, we have this idea that, like, we're still so attached that it would not be possible to have everything that we want right in this moment. That there's nothing that we need to do. There's nothing that we came into this world already fully equipped to be completely happy. Right? And that seems almost like there's such a disbelief, as if that's not even possible.
Yeah, that's an important one. This specific thing that you said, that there's nothing that we need to acquire to feel this. And yeah, I think it's really difficult. Speaking for my own experience, it's really difficult for you to fully believe in that. You can be like, yeah, okay, I don't need, but either way, let's go try to get it. So it's like the idea itself and the openness to accept that we might be wrong in what we are pursuing, in what we are dedicating our life to, that in itself is already a big step, because most people will hang on to this and they will do everything they can to the point where they will create a story of why and what they are making is the right thing. You can't convince someone to do something different if they are convincing themselves. So they will find ways to create a narrative to say that, nah, I don't care, I just want to be a millionaire. And that's what makes me happy. And that's what I want to achieve. It doesn't matter. I'll spend the last years of my life doing that. And if they do get there and they still feel, let's say, not accomplished or not having the sense of okayness, a lot of people will just create this hedonistic, let's say, mindset of, no, I can't see the bad on what I'm doing. I can't see whatever it is. They're just trying to justify, let's say, what they are searching for. And so I think that's also an important step. It's a step to really inquire the things that you are strongly holding on to. And I'm not saying that you're going to inquire on that and just say, yeah, I'm wrong, I'm completely wrong, and you change everything. No, it's not that. But you are allowing yourself to reaccess and to relearn and re-explore the things that you are constantly doing. And that creates a freedom for you to move forward in terms of, yeah, maybe tomorrow I'll be wrong, and that's fine, I'll follow a new path. But there is also a sense of exploration, I would say, into the unknown.
100%. Like this idea, I think the more attached we are, and it's exactly this uncertainty that we're trying to avoid, really, that life, because I think when we grow up, there's so much stuff that we feel overwhelmed with, so many things that are just too much for us and we don't really know how to handle it. And then over time, we just try to grasp onto an identity or a belief system that really can pull us through out of that somehow. So no matter what that is, and maybe it's like becoming a millionaire or having the dream girlfriend, maybe whatever it is, or spirituality can also be one, right? Like the savior, and it's like pulling you out of this deep, dark hole of uncertainty. We think that's the solution, and then we just stick to it so much, or we become so attached to it that we put the blinders on. We just like run with that, and then, yeah, a lot of times we actually miss the signs that we could be getting from other people, from life itself, and we try to defend really hard our own belief system, which it's just a belief system, right? So you were conditioned, you were given a belief system from your parents, from your teachers, the people around you, and that was like your program that you were programmed with, and so that's kind of what you're acting out now. And then oftentimes, again, we're just reacting. We say, I don't like this program, so now I'm just switching to a different one. And then we just bounce around from one program to the next, never realizing all this change that's happening is not authentic at all. It's just purely reacting from one thing to the next, and we're just in reaction mode. So nothing truly authentic is happening. And the only time where something authentic can happen is when we really stop, which is actually the very first step, I would say, to everyone who's listening to this or who is a high achiever and who says, I want to be happy, is to just stop. Stop for a second and don't do anything. Actually think about, why have I been doing all these things? Like really questioning all this stuff, right? Instead of oh, I'm just listening to this, and then, okay, I'm going to use it in this way, and trying to, again, incorporate it in your own vision for where you already want to go. Like actually allowing that to maybe push you off course a little bit and then sway you in different directions. And that openness and that receptivity is, I would say, what I contribute to me being where I am now. In the beginning, it was actually unhealthy because I would blame myself that I don't know, that I'm dumb, that I'm not smart. So I would literally take everyone else's opinion as more important than mine. But over time, I realized like that shifted away to I'm actually receptive. I'm listening to someone else. I'm fully taking that in. And I'm allowing that to change where I'm going instead of like I have to put my own thing over everyone else.
I think it's also important to give our own perspective on it, because people might be thinking, oh, who are these two stupidos who talk about this shit, and to give any advice, let's say. Well, first, that's why I would say most of the things that we do is not asking you to do specific things, because there's not one way. So it's not like, oh, you do this and this and this and you get your dream relationship, or do this and this and this and get that. That's how other people do. That's how people that want to sell you courses just to take your money do. They just want to not teach you, they just want to tell you to do the things that you want to convince yourself that is necessary for you to achieve that. And that's why it usually don't work, because you never stop to really look at the things that you want and be like, oh, maybe I'm wrong. You just want to confirm the things that you already strongly believe. But in my personal life, I would say that I could be considered as someone in this like high achiever type of always searching for something, always searching for the latest camera, always searching for the latest course, always searching for the best job, for more money, for the best girlfriend, whatever it is. And that in itself already made me feel inadequate in whatever was happening in the moment. So always this feeling that, no, it's not right now. Next year will be my year. So this year I'll just hustle. And the next year is going to be the year that I'm fully able to experience life, enjoy. And then the next year would come in and something would happen and be like, okay, yeah, but this year, this happened. So it's okay, I lost my money on crypto, let's say. So, okay, this year I'm just gonna hustle more and so on and so forth. So always like this idea that this something is on the outside, it's on the future, never here in the now. And then the shift happened. It didn't make me stop to go for the things that I wanted, but it's a sense of, yeah, life is beautiful right now. The things that I'm doing right now makes me feel fulfilled in this moment. As I'm doing it, I feel like I'm in the right path. I'm always ready to change that also. I think this is important, is that I'm not strongly holding my beliefs. And I'm still pursuing the things that make sense for me to this moment, but it's not like I expect that to give me the sense of, okay, now I'm fully living life. Because I'm already in this space. I'm already here. There's no other place to be again.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. The attachment is just not there anymore for you. Like, if I asked you right now in terms of the women too, let's say, when did you have this experience? How long ago? When the shift occurred? Like,
started around 4 years ago when I was working with this coach, this spiritual coach, and I went through some really heavy, I would say almost not suicidal, but like in this realm of like not understanding life anymore, thinking that there's nothing in life that is worth to just keep living, let's say. Not thinking that in terms of, okay, now I should end my life, but more like, yeah, I don't get this yet.
And I want to just say this is actually a beautiful place to be in, even though in the moment it doesn't feel that way, right? It just feels like we're so confused. And for me, it was a little bit different, I would say. Like this whole phase when we initially tried to offer podcasts, like you, me, and Bob, and that phase, I was still heavily confused, and I was just relying on all these things that people were telling me, like do this meditation and do this exercise, and and I tried all these things out, but it became like this mechanical thing. And I think you were pointing at that before too, where it's like if you just go to a coach and be like, coach, tell me what I need to do, and you're not even using your own intuition, you're not checking in with yourself and seeing, is this actually working for me? What is it doing? Like I'm like being curious about what's actually changing inside of you, then don't even do it. Like it's not worth it. Right? It's not going to help you at all. And I think this place of confusion, though, is really beautiful because it's a necessary step to really come to clarity, to really come to a deep knowing. And there's a difference between having a belief system where you feel like strong, like having all this knowledge and feeling like safe in that belief system, which is founded in nothing real, versus having a deep knowing of what's real that comes only from your direct experience. And I think that then after that, you don't need to accumulate more knowledge, because it's already so deeply, it's a direct experience for you. There's nobody that can take that away from you. There's nobody that can say it's not that way. If you know, you know. And I think that's what's slowly been happening for you as well. And that also allows you then to go and do the things, to be inspired, to go, I don't know, snowboarding when you want to go snowboarding in Ukraine right now, which is fucking dangerous, but you feel like, all right, I know this is the right thing. Like I'm inspired to go do this, and I can go do it. So I think that's a beautiful place to be in. So if you are in this place right now, or you have been, or you're getting into that place in the future, then don't feel like this is wrong. This is not a right step in the right direction. Like this is actually a prerequisite oftentimes to really like burn away all the bullshit that we've built up, that we've been clinging to so much. Right? And then it might drop you into this nihilistic state of like, oh shit, I don't know what this is all about. But you will come, like if you drop deep into that and you allow that to be there, you will drop even deeper into something that will show you why all of this is here and what this is all for.
I think also the 3 points that we both gave, well, you gave 2, I gave 3, about the things that are important to be able to get there. I think those are things that we did ourselves also. Some more than others. Like I know that you did way more of those works than I did, but I was in doing different things like with my coach. So I was basically living that with a previous coach that I was working with. Yeah, but I would say, like, at least for me, this that we are talking about is something that personally was me completely.
And same here. I was that high achiever, just straight up only like hustling. I remember watching these motivational videos, and literally there was a time in my life where I tried to cut out as much sleep as possible so I could just be working. Like I was Googling this, it's called, I think, Dymaxion sleep cycle. And apparently all these geniuses have used that, like Mozart and like whatever, like Einstein or whatever. And it's kind of, you nap for 30 minutes every 5.5 hours. So that in total you only sleep for 2 hours a day. So then you have 22 hours in your day to do other things, right? And then try to optimize that. And obviously I failed miserably, but yeah, yes. And I was always over optimizing. Like people would tell me, dude, why are you over optimizing again? And I would not leave enough buffers in my day. So things would constantly overlap and I would constantly get stressed out because things just didn't work out the way I planned them to. And I got really frustrated. I was extremely rigid and I was just pushing. Like same initially with girls too. Like I went to Canada and then I went out every single day. Like for a year straight, probably, like day and night, like both times. And this whole thing, like, it was just like pushing, and I felt exhausted at some point. I was sacrificing sleep, right? And it was ultimately not, like, it got me to the point where I realized this is not what I want to keep doing.
Did you felt like you were flowing in terms of, could you flow into expressing yourself? Let's say go and dance, or do things that not necessarily are making you achieve an objective, but like just be alive.
Hell no.
Were you able to express?
No. It was all, and I think this is another important point here, is it was all done as a means to an end. Like, I could not enjoy anything that was happening right now. It was always just to get the girl. Oh, like, I was working on my voice to get the girl. I was doing the going out and desensitizing myself just to get the girl. Like, it was always to get something, right? And this whole like means to an end, like, I couldn't enjoy myself. Absolutely not. There was no flowing whatsoever. And I even remember, like, even when I met my dad, and he only came to visit me once in Prague, like in Czech Republic, for 2 hours, I think. I was there on like doing work, a boot camp and stuff, and I hadn't seen him in a few years. And then I was with him and his girlfriend, and we're walking through the city, sitting down to drink or eat something, and I would see a hot girl, and I would just have to run after this girl and approach her. And I only saw him for 2 hours, and I knew I was not going to see him for another year and a half or two again. But I couldn't help myself. I had to go and approach this girl. It was so compulsively that I couldn't stop it. And now, like, looking, like, being here, I'm just like, you know, like, pretty secluded. I'm like working on my business and stuff. And it just really feels good. Like, I don't have to go out. Like, so what? Like, I feel good by myself. I no longer need the women to fill that void. And that was definitely like, but I only noticed this after the fact again, right? Like, only now I can see, oh, wait a minute. I don't feel stressed out about not talking to girls right now. Cool.
Mm-hmm. Two things come to my mind hearing that. The first one is, for me, I hear that, and the thought that I would have in my mind is that I need to be doing all of this so I don't waste my life by not achieving the things that I want to achieve, by not seeing that I was doing that by not being present. So it's kind of like, I don't want to waste my life. I'm FOMOing the things that I can achieve in life without noticing that I'm missing being here. So that was one point that, yeah, you reminded me. And the second one is this always running after girls. I would see that so much with so many friends and students. And I would sometimes, well, with students, I would ask them, why are you going after like this, all these chicks, and you just talk for 1 to 2 minutes and then you leave, and then you don't even stay, you don't even encourage more, and they are completely open to go on a date with you right now, or they are open to have a more meaningful conversation, or like this Instagram exchange. And they're like, no, it's because I need to do 100 approaches per day, or because I need to train myself, I need to this and this. So always like this going somewhere. It's like, but bro, you were there. You weren't there. What are you doing? And I can say that because also I remember points in my life where I was getting these results that I think I wanted from women and relationships, and not able to enjoy, like fully being like in the pillow, like my head looking at the window, and like in the window at the ceiling, like, why I'm here? Not even knowing. And my whole life was based on that.
I mean, it's this, and that's kind of what the awareness is going to help with, like, to really see when these, like, why are you doing this right now? Why are you so compulsively running after these women? Like, for me, I just, in the moment, I couldn't tell when this was happening, right? I was just like, I had to. And it was still because I still had bought into the idea that ultimately I need the women to give me the love, to give me the peace, to give me the joy. It's almost like it was the ultimate drug that I created for myself. The thing that would take all my pain away, being fully accepted, like all of that stuff. And And then obviously over time, I would get disappointed again and again and again to realize that the women are not there to give that to me. Right? They're there to show me that it's up to me to bring the love to the depth of the ocean, to go there myself, because it's not out there to find anywhere to just like grab and pull in. Like doesn't work that way. Like the love that you experience is the love that you experience within yourself, that you then bring out there. Otherwise, there's no love. You can wait forever. People are not going to give it to you. And our parents were also not responsible for that. Like we think they were. We say, why didn't they love us unconditionally? But it also wasn't their job, right? So the cool thing is, once we know that, we can say, hey, wait a minute. If it wasn't up to anyone but myself, then I can make that change now. There's nothing I can't accomplish, not accomplish, but there's nothing I can't undo that was done, right? I can change my perception. I can take full responsibility for my experience of life, and then everything is accessible again. Yeah, commit. That's what it takes. Commitment to really wanting to experience that. Not to understand it mentally, but to experience the knowing of it, like a real deep knowing within yourself that this is the absolute truth. And you can only, and that's the thing, we can't communicate that to you because that experience goes beyond words. We can't just put that in words and be like, here it is. Now you understand it. You can't understand it mentally. It has to be a direct experience. So all we can do really is point. We can say, here, this is it.
And that's why I see the commitment is usually the first part, even if you decided to find, let's say, coaching and go for like this one-on-one calls, whatever it is. Because if you're not fully committed, you just come to listen and use as a source of knowledge that you would say like, okay, I understand this now I'm going to use in the future. So you see a lot of guys that would just come in and do 1-2 calls and be like, okay, I understand what you're saying, but I think now is not the time for me to do that. It's like, there's no time to do that. The time is now. There's only this moment that you are here. There's only this moment that you need to make this decision of inquiry. And I'm not going to say it's easy because it's not easy. You're going to go through things that are going to make you feel anxious. They're going to be painful. Some self-reflections for you to also look at things and be like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe I made a mistake here. Oh, okay, yeah. Maybe what I'm following and I'm dedicating some years of my life is not the thing that I should be doing. But what is your goal in life?
And I think it's important to see also that these things can't be forced though, right? Like it can't, like when I went into pickup full on, I was like, this is it. This is the whole, like, this is all the answers for me. This is going to transform me, everything. That's what I really believed. And if at the time someone would have come to me and said, well, Martin, hold on a second. Actually, everything that you're seeking is found right here. All you need to do is drop all the shit that you were thinking and come into the present moment. I would have not been able to do that, right? So it's important to see, like, wherever you are, if this resonates, then continue on this path. If it doesn't resonate yet, don't worry about it. Keep doing your thing, and eventually you might come back to this. But there is no, like, getting it wrong in that sense. It's really just about, can you receive that? I think what the point you were trying to make is this, like, it can be as simple as recognizing right now that none of these things matter. And if you can grasp that, if that clicks for you right now, then this can completely change the trajectory that you're going for the rest of your life, starting right now. Doesn't have to be next year, doesn't have to be in 10 years. It can happen right now. But it's not guaranteed, right? It's just, is it happening for you or is it not? But it can be that quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so another thing that I wanted to really bring it back to the whole idea of, like, why are especially the high achievers unhappy then, like with this whole leapfrogging. And I said this before, it's like, if we treat things as a means to an end, then we're constantly jumping over the present moment. So everything that we do cannot ever truly fulfill us because it's always like 5 steps ahead of us. It's always right out of reach, like always in the future. And then this whole idea of like the process doesn't even exist for us anymore. Like we can't even be in the process because we're always thinking about what it does for us in the future. And generally that's accompanied by just being completely in the mind. And if you really look at the states that we're describing, like peace, love, joy, what else did we say? Peace, love, joy, or like feeling connected, all of that has to do with the feeling. So the only place that's really accessed is if we drop into our whole body and allow the body to feel that, like to be a human being, not a human doing anymore. Right? That's the way to tap into these states. And then we can really, that's like the opening up. That's why everything we're saying is pointing back to how can we come into our body? How can we inhabit that? How can we stay here as much as possible so we can experience that? Experience what's already there inherently in the present moment. It's not something we have to go seek. Right? So that's why I said before, it's really powerful to just stop for a while, to just stop and tell yourself, okay, let me explore this. Let me give this a chance at least. Maybe I don't fully trust what these fuckers here are saying, but let me at least, for a little bit, give myself the chance to experience that. That openness may be enough to change that course for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the communication, it's not about word for word of what we are describing in terms of knowledge. Like we said, it's not about that. So even if it's just a feeling that, okay, there is a path, a different path, that is basically what this whole podcast is about. It's not about a path to follow, it's that there is a path. And this path doesn't require you to go anywhere.
And this reminds me of something you said earlier. When someone goes to a coach and they want someone to just tell them exactly what to do, then that means they're still not willing to take responsibility for their experience. They just want a father figure or like some parental authoritarian figure to tell them, this is what you need to do, and you can just turn your brain off and you can just follow that like a little puppy dog, and then it's going to work out. But that's not what it means to take full responsibility. And especially if you're here because you want to attract a woman of quality, do you really think a woman of quality would tolerate that? Would she be like, yep, stamp of approval, here you go? Absolutely not. Right? She wants a man who can really take charge, who can take the lead in life, who can take the lead for both of them and can lead them to a place of the deepest possible fulfillment and bliss and peace and love, right? So it's really about, are you willing, and that's where the commitment comes in, are you willing to take responsibility to make that change? So we'll never give you the exact things to do. We have many different tools that we can use and that we are going to share with you, but it's never going to be this exact thing for you because it's so unique. And that's where you always have to check in with yourself. Is this the thing that's working? Is it meditation? Is it breath work? Is it what's it called? Tai Chi or Qigong? Like, what exactly is the thing that allows you? Or is it yoga? Like, there's so many different ways to come back. Or it can be questioning, like all these different tools. But it's about what works for you. And then you have this proactive approach about life. Like I can tell right away if a client is committed because they will be asking me questions. They will be asking for like, okay, so how about this? And like they're trying shit out without me having to tell them like everything, right? And you can really tell it. And I think we were both in that place. Like I can definitely speak for myself. Like whenever I was working with someone, I always had this attitude of proactivity. Always wanting to understand, not like knowing like with my mind, just like that was not enough for me. I really wanted to experience it. And I had this hunger for really like real knowledge.